Texas Mutual Insurance Company salutes Refinery Terminal Fire Company and other safety-focused policyholder owners that have received a portion of this year's $225 million in dividends for creating safer workplaces for Texas employees. More at WorksafeTexas.com.
You know, a lot of us facing sort of retirement age and slowing down in life are finding that, the baby boomers have it pretty good. There are a lot of really intriguing, lifestyle places to live. Edgemere, as you've probably seen, it's right there on Northwest Highway, right before you get to Hillcrest. But this has sort of been one of the premier senior living communities in North Dallas anyway. And it's all founded and president and the CEO of the company that owns it, Senior Quality Lifestyles. Charles Brewer is a native Dallasite. He's got places all over Texas and joins us right now. It's good to have you with us.
Thank you, David.
It really is. I mean, I feel like I'm in the middle of this bulge going through the snake, these baby boomers. But it's got to be a good time to be in your business.
It is. It is a very good time.
Well, so what got you in this? You're a lawyer. You're an SMU educated attorney. What got you in this business?
When I came back from the Marine Corps after 5 years on active duty, I took a job with a publicly held restaurant company, actually owned by 50% owned by the Wiley family. And that company became USA Cafes. It was struggling back at the time. Over 10 years, we built it into a company that won the New York Stock Exchange. When I left there,
I remember it well. I did.
When I left there, after 10 years, I took kind of a sabbatical for a few months, and then my phone began to ring, and a company called Southmark called, and they were looking for someone to come in. They knew it was one of the largest savings and loan multi-company. It was going to be
big holding company.
Big holding company ended up being the 5th largest bankruptcy at that point in time. I resisted their temptation to join them for about 3 or 4 months, and finally got talked into it. Became the general counsel and the executive vice president. Took them through bankruptcy and then liquidated them over the next 10 or 11 years. About year 7 of that was 1997, and things were slowing down. I was working on another firm, but I had some time on my hands. Called a friend of mine who was the managing partner of Thompson & Knight. Said, hey, I'd like to give something back to my community. Why don't you find me something? A couple of months later, he called and said his firm had been contacted by a developer. They were looking for someone to put together a 501c3 and build a retirement community. And so I said, I think I could do that. I became the chairman and the CEO. We financed it. We built it, opened in December of 2001, and my plan was to stay a year and then pitch them the keys and go on with the rest of my life and go back to turnaround stuff. The management company convinced me to look at one down in Houston, and we looked at that, talked to my board. The board said, hey, we kind of enjoyed this. Let's do another one. So we did the Buckingham in Houston, opened Buckingham in June of 2005. No more than got working on it. And the management company came back and said, hey, there's a group in Austin that's putting together one. They're not sure they have the expertise. We've told them about you. And the chairman is Coach Darrell Royal.
Oh, my God.
So I went down, made a presentation to Coach and his board, and about 2 weeks later they called and said, hey, come in, and we want you to assume responsibility. I became the chairman. Coach Royal was the vice chairman, and he and his wife Edith, I think, are 4th residents to move into Carencia in Austin.
And so is the formula the same in all of these? I think of Edgemere, and it's very high end, and it's not what I think of as a classic, retirement community or nursing home or something like that. I mean, it's the kind of place I guess you could go into in your 50s, early 60s.
The restriction is under federal law, 62 is the youngest that you can come into a retirement community like that and still qualify for 501c3 treatment. And if a husband was 68, let's say, and his wife was younger, you can get a waiver.
Yeah.
But what our goal is to go into communities and to be the best CCRC, continuing care retirement community in that city. We try to take each one when we design it. We try to fit the local culture. We try to fit the local architecture, so it kind of assimilates into the culture of that city. Each one of them is different. Colorado, Corpus Christi would look much different than Edgemere, much different than Carencia and Austin. So
it depends on what they want. And you're adding to this. I mean, I see you've got a $35 million expansion program.
Yes, sir.
On?
Yes, sir.
I thought you were landlocked over there.
We are. We're adding some on the north and south part of our healthcare. We're adding about 36 skilled nursing and assisted living units, and also enhancing the number of memory support units.
Yeah, Buckner is talking about going in right down Northwest Highway from you at Central Expressway. Is there Is this a growing market? Is there room for a lot more?
There's room for more, yes, sir. There is.
And in particular on the high end?
I think there's a lot of healthcare coming into this market and all the markets, but the newest thing right now is for-profit assisted living memory support. You can put it on a much smaller site. It's not as expensive. The advantage of that, it doesn't have the same state regulations that a healthcare facility does that has skilled nursing.
Because that's right, you're a healthcare. They're independent living apartments, but you go all the way through.
We go
right?
through it's called the continuum of care, and we start with independent living. We have life care, which means that you come in and pay an entrance fee for your unit, and then as you need to go through the continuum, it really is seamless in terms of moving through.
So I'm not familiar with that formula, except that I remember the first place I ever heard was a place here called Presbyterian Village that you actually bought into rather than just sort of rent a unit. Why does that work?
Works for a number of reasons. Number one, let's say that you are a prospective Edgemere resident. You live in University Park, Highland Park. You are of an age, let's say you're 75 years old. You're tired of fixing your foundation. You're tired of repairing the roof. You're tired of doing all that. Your kids are still in town. They want you to be here someplace. You sell your house. You take the money that you get for your house and you pay, and you look at how much it is. You pay an entrance fee to Edgemere. And that entrance fee is 90% returnable to you, refundable to you, when either you leave, decide you want to go someplace else,
right,
or when it's payable to your beneficiaries when you pass away. But the real benefit, so we take that money. That's how we pay the debt service. We hold that 100%. We give you 90% back. But the benefit of it is you pay in addition to your entrance fee, you pay a monthly service fee. Let's say if you have a $45,000 unit or a $5,000 unit, you're paying $500,000 unit. You're paying a monthly service fee for two people of maybe, for one person maybe $4,250, for two people maybe $5,500. The difference is as you go through the continuum. Let's say that the husband has a broken hip. He needs a room in assisted living in skilled nursing for maybe 60 days. That doesn't cost anything more for you to have to occupy both units for 60 days than you're currently paying, other than the cost of his meals. When both of you leave independent living and you move through the continuum, let's say to assisted living, and then maybe one of you ends up in memory support, one of you ends up in skilled nursing, perhaps.
Yeah.
You're still paying. You're paying an adjusted charge, but it's much less than you would pay. The cost for skilled nursing room right now, if you just come in as a direct admit anywhere in Dallas, is probably in the $10,000 plus range.
So in a sense, it sort of eliminates part of the unknown.
You can plan your future costs, and your adult children can plan your future costs. It's what it's going to take going forward for your care.
Yeah,
and it's almost like an insurance policy that you know what the future is going to be, and as you move through the continuum, it's more or less seamless.
Fascinating. Now I know why you have a law degree and CFO and all that kind of background. You could figure something like that out. The Edgemere and the Buckingham, Mirador in Corpus Christi, units in Carmel, Indiana. It's fascinating what you do. Charlie Brewer is founder, president, and CEO of Senior Quality Life